Welcome to C Programming Tutorials. This is a production of YouTube channel Learnorama and the Facebook page Awesome C Programming Tutorials in High Def. In this tutorial we are actually learning about how to delete data from a file, and this is a continuation from the previous tutorials. If you haven't watched those tutorials, I would recommend that you do so as soon as possible before you continue on with this tutorial. So this is the part 3 of the tutorial. We are in the process of writing the program that reads from a file, and this is what the file looks like. It contains a whole bunch of names in it, and we are trying to get rid of or delete the name Joe from this file. As you can see, it occurs or it appears in this file multiple times at different locations, and we are trying to get rid of it. So here is what we are writing the program. We also learned in the tutorials before before this tutorial, we learned the algorithm that we are using here to actually delete the those lines from this file. So right now we are in the middle of where were we? Okay, here. Yeah. So we are actually, this is how the program looks like right now. We are reading from a file, we are opening a file, we are reading one line at a time in this while loop, and then we are checking, we are trying to say, okay, if the line is not equal to Joe, if that's the case, then we put that line, because this line needs to go back into the file. So we put that line into the buffer, which is, it's a buffer in memory, and we put it there. PTR is the pointer which points to the to the next available location, and as we put that line into that wherever the PTR is pointing to inside that buffer, we actually increment or move that pointer to the next line. So it's very simple code right here, and this particular code is, at the end of this while loop, when we'll exit out of this while loop, when we get here, we will be done processing the entire file, and the buffer will have all the names except Joe. Now the question is that how do we determine this? How do we do this? If line is not equal to Joe, you would think that you would write something like this. If line is not equal to Joe, but unfortunately again you cannot do that, because line is an array. It's a string, but it's an array of characters, and you cannot, in C, you cannot compare arrays like this. Okay, so what do we do? Again, we will need some function that could do that. Just like, a function strlen will give you the string length, and the function strcopy will copy the lines, copy one string to another string. We need a function that will compare two strings. And fortunately there is the function like that, and that function is called strcmp. Okay, string compare. How do you use it? It takes two parameters. The one is that, string 1, the other one is string 2, and simply, if you give these two strings, it will compare these two strings. And what does it return? To keep things simple, we will say it returns 0 if both of the strings are same. It returns a non-zero value. Actually, it returns a positive value if str1 is greater than str2. Let's not worry about it. It returns a non-zero value if str1 is not the same as str2. This string is not the same as this string. If both of them are same, it returns 0. Okay, so what do we do? What is our first string? Our first string is the line, whatever the line that we just read. We have to see if this line is Joe or not. Okay, and what is the next string? Joe. Okay, very simple. Now remember, fgetS reads lines from the file, and it also leaves the new line characters in whatever, if it encounters new line characters, it will leave it in there inside line. Now if it read Joe from this file here, there will be a new line character at the end of Joe. of the word Joe, and it will read Joe with and put it in line along with that new line character. Now if you will compare line with Joe, it will return false even if it says Joe in there, because at the end of Joe there is a new line character here. So we have to compare it against Joe \n. We have to compare it with Joe and along with the \n. Okay, so this will be the true comparison that we really want to achieve here, right? If a string compare, now if the strings are the same, then it returns 0. But we are looking for if the line is not equal to Joe or is not the same as Joe, okay, then we have to do. So what do? We are looking for not equal to 0, which means that if they are not the same, okay, as I said, if the strings are not the same, it returns a non-zero value. So we are comparing it against not equal to 0, okay. So this whole condition will be true when line will be anything other than Joe. And at that point, we have to basically copy that line over to wherever the pointer is pointing to inside that buffer, and so on. So at the end of this while loop, now we would have processed the entire file, because this while loop will stop when we will reach end of file. Okay. So when we'll exit out of the while loop, at this point here, we will have the buffer will have all the names except Joe, because we never put Joe. We put all the names except Joe. We put everything into the buffer for as long as it's not Joe. But if it is Joe, then we skip it and we read the next line. Right? Now here, the buffer is ready. It's the same as the file, except that it's not the file. So what do? Very simple. We close the file first, because this file was open in the read mode. We reopen the file. Okay? After closing the file, we are going to reopen the file. What is the name of the file? abc.txt. Okay? Comma. In what mode? In write mode, because now we are going to write the entire buffer onto the file. Okay? Onto this file, we are going to write the entire buffer. So we open this file in the write mode. We have to write the whole buffer into this file. So what do we use? We know that to write anything on the file, we have to use, so far we learned about fprintf. And how do we have to write? Fprintf takes the file pointer first, and then we have to write it as a string buffer. How many strings? Just one. Because remember, this is what it looks like. Something like this. Okay? And this starts from here, and every string, where does it start? Wherever the string pointer is pointing to. And where does it end? The string ends when the end of a string character is found. What is the end of a string character? It is actually 0. And remember, we initialized the entire buffer with 0. And then we kept on writing the names on here. So here there is no 0 here after Larry. So a string doesn't stop here. So Frank, no 0, Kelly, no 0, and so on until we will reach the last name that we just put in there. Okay? Which will be from this file, it will be Kim. And then after that, there will be zeros, because we initialized the entire buffer to 0, so everything else is 0. So the first 0 that we find after that, that will be the end of a string. So this whole buffer is like just one string. So we print that string, the entire string, into the buffer. So the whole buffer is going to go into the file, right? Sorry, we print the entire string into the file. So the entire buffer is going to go into the file, and then, and then we close the file. Fclose p file. That's it. So it's very simple. So let's run it. Let me close this, and I'll press F9. There we go. It ran. What is the output? No output, because we never printed anything on the string, on the screen. So where did we print? We printed right onto the file. So let's check abc.txt again. So I'm going to open that file again, and look at this. This file has the names, all the names except Joe. Joe was deleted from that file. The same name of name of the file is the same, still the same, abc.txt. That file has the same names that it had before except Joe. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please rate it, give it thumbs up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.